Hello everyone and welcome back to Suzerain, where the economy is finally looking pretty good. The growth is fixed, all things considered. Well, I say fixed, it's projected, so hopefully it's going to go well. But we are now in a positive growth. However, our government budget is still pretty terrible, so we're going to have to work on that and kind of find a way to reduce the surplus, because right now we've got a huge issue for the time being. We arrived at the Grand National Assembly, which was only a 5-minute drive away from the palace. Today I had a private meeting with Gloria Tory, one of the leading figures of the USP, to get her approval of the proposal. She was also keen in reaching 150 signatures to propose the new constitution, and she had extensive control over our party's conservative and moderate wings, so she is a power player. As I walked through the corridors of the Grand National Assembly, I was confronted by memories of the historic building. Despite being a member of the Assembly not long ago, it still felt like a distant past. I walked into the left wing of the Assembly, which currently acted as the quarters of the USP. Gloria's office was the first one inside. I knocked on the door and entered. Let's go somewhat formal. Good morning, Mrs. Tory. Good to see you here, Mr. Rain. It was a small, neatly organised office. There was small figurines, photos and plants around the office. It had a homey feel, unlike my own Assembly office, when I had worked there. On a gesture, I took a seat. The chair was very uncomfortable. How are you doing, Mrs. Tory? I'm fine, Mr. Rain. How are you? I'm fine too, thank you. Let's not be too, over the top, happy-dappy. Anyway, let's keep this simple, Mr. Rain. We both know why we're here. You want me to give you my support. I don't see why the backbone of the USP would support your Rush reforms, and you realise they go directly against the wishes of the founder of this party and state. This is going to be an important conversation. The reforms are not against anyone, it's all in the name of democracy. Mrs. Tory, I need you to help me here. My reforms are very critical for the future of Swordland. Let's be honest, I just say I need you to help me. So you want me to help you destroy what our party's worked so hard to build, even though you owe everything to Colonel Sol? I think you never liked him nor the party he built. There's nothing personal about this, Mrs. Tory. Whatever you intend to do, you'll be facing quite the opposition, that's all I can say. I'm sure we can make a deal. You must understand these reforms are a necessity. Let me explain. Let's try that. The USP is a party that knows how to react in changing times, must lead the nation into the future. We need these reforms to fix the problems with the unrestricted power of the Supreme Court, or the people of Swordland demand a change. USP must give them what they want. We do need the people's support, otherwise you don't get to stay elected. I'm aware that our popularity has been on the decline, but I blame it on this administration, Mr. Rain. Plus, these reforms are not about the people, are they? I seriously do not know if the Conservatives will be willing to support you at all, especially when you're trying to decrease the electoral threshold. You must know that this will bring the Communists into the Assembly. You probably have a deal with either of them, or maybe the PFJP. Friends seem to be positive about giving you support too. The decrease is important to democratise our elections. Let's try that. I don't know how your acts can even be justified inside the USP. I know support an election threshold of 8%. This sets a dangerous situation for us, as both the WPB and the CPS will gain more power. I'd rather leave the threshold as it is. Would that ensure your support if I were to change it? I don't know what to say before seeing commitment from you, Mr. Rain. Same goes for me too. We're going to have this conversation round and round. I don't know if I can promise anything before I see action from you, especially with all these issues you're creating from the party. You should at least remove the changes to the Member of Honour laws, or there'll be no further discussion. You can't just target our founder and expect our opposition, or expect our support, sorry. If this point is not removed, expect a grand opposition. It's not about him, it's not about Sol, it's about preventing abuse of power. It's not about him. I'm sure it isn't. This must be about some other Member of Honour. So you're not removing the clause in the proposal? So I can change the Member of Honour law, or I can change the election threshold, but I've promised democracy. I will remove the changes. I'll remove the changes to the Member of Honour laws. Now we can start talking for real. I must say that I wouldn't have given the Assembly the right to nominate ministers. This can create a lot of problems for future governments. But moving on, it's unbelievable that you are taking away the immunity of the justices, a big mistake. Even though the Assembly is elected by the people, it does not hold enough judicial insight and neutrality to impeach justices. The separation of powers shouldn't be damaged. This is something I cannot accept. Can't see anything democratic here, Mr. President, can you? This will benefit the... Let's try saying this will benefit the party, because you seem to care about the party a lot. I continue to disagree. So what are you thinking about? Are you ready to make changes to your proposal, or should we keep talking past each other? I am not touching the justices. They are staying as they are. She raised an eyebrow and then took a long look at the proposal on her table. You know what? I feel extra generous today. I believe I can give you the help you require. I do have one condition. I want you to cancel that speech that you were planning for your wife at the Benfey Festival. Oh no! Mayor Lester is not only popular in Benfey, he's one of the most influential members of the USP's Conservative wing. We wouldn't want to upset him, would we? Oh boy, what do we do here? We need the votes. But our wife is going to seriously hate that. What does he have to do with anything? He's not the only person who would be upset, Mr. President, you know that. If you want Conservative support, you cannot let the First Lady speak in Mr. Lester's stead. This isn't about her, it's about women's rights. I thought you'd understand. Believe me, I understand more than your wife even. Tell me, why does she want to do this speech so badly? She wants to give Swordish women a voice. So do I, but this is not the way. I spent nearly 2 decades in the Assembly. I know how real change happens. The old Conservative men who hold the power in this government will not listen to Mrs. Rain's speech and suddenly have a change of heart, rather the opposite. They'll see a shrill, hectoring housewife who slept with the President for a spot on that stage and is now hopelessly out of her depth. It's true. But what on earth are we going to say to our wife? Listen, I do believe the status of women could improve during your administration. Your education minister has been gathering ideas for a bill that appears quite promising. But you've got to have patience. Having Monica speak now will be detrimental for all of us. Just let Mayor Lester have his little moment in the spotlight. His time will be over soon enough. Oh, Monica, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Monica. I really hope that's the right decision. Just don't forget, Mr. President, the Conservatives will be expecting a lot from you. I'll be expecting a lot from the Conservatives as well. I can get you the signatures needed for the proposal. I'll talk to the other Conservatives. I hope there won't be any surprises though, Mr. President. What surprises? We have to calculate every possibility, Mr. President. After all, this is Swordland. Of course, I can't guarantee that all of the Conservatives will vote for your constitutional changes. I have serious reservations about privatising healthcare or the SSC. The support of my faction can change. That will depend to some extent on your policies, but the signatures at least are as good as gathered. Signatures are not enough. We'll need all the votes from the USP. Thank you. Okay, what policies make you concerned? Concerned about the oligarchs and the state of our economy. Look at the economic growth, it's doing well. I'm worried that they may influence you for their own benefit. We expect you to succeed where our funds have failed in resisting their siren call. If you start privatising healthcare or state-owned corporations, I doubt I can help you. I've held off privatising. I'm not Alfonso. I know, that's why I want to see you succeed. I believe I made myself clear. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. President. I hope you hold your promises. But now I need to go back to my duties, if you excuse me, Mr. President. Goodbye, Mrs. Tory. Thank you. Oh, dearie me. The Conservative side was handled, but to get to the 150 signatures I needed, I would still have to deal with Albin Clavin and the Reformist wing. I went outside and Sergei drove me back to the palace, where I met with Lucian and told him about the progress I made with Gloria. Oh, our wife's not going to be happy, is she? Oh, I'm so sorry, Monica. I'm so sorry. Lucian offers to play chess. Late in the evening, Lucian extends an invitation for a strategic game of chess within the solemn quiet of the presidential office. Play chess? Don't play and relax at home with the family. We've just messed up. Monica's speech. But Lucian's our right-hand man. We need to keep him on side. Relax with the family. I'm sorry, Lucian. Oh boy. Okay, so now we need to meet. We've met with the right wing. Now we need to meet with the left wing. After our meeting with Gloria Tory and further discussions within the party in my cabinet, it was time to talk to Albin Clavin to get the reformist wing to support the proposal. I also plan to finally present a more fleshed out proposal and declare our agenda to the party after our meeting. I walked into the left wing of the assembly and entered the quarters of the USP. When I reached the meeting hall, I saw many of our members conversing inside. After taking a glimpse inside, I went back into the corridor to look for the office of Albin Clavin, which was around the back of the place. When I reached his room, I knocked on the door and entered. Mr. President, welcome! The whole room was surrounded by bookshelves packed with files and papers. It was a small office, with books and dossiers lying on every corner. It felt claustrophobic. On his gesture, I took a seat. How is everything, Mr. Clavin? It's been busy. The party's been working very hard, Mr. President. Thank you for asking. How's it going for you in the palace? I'm feeling pretty good. That's great to hear. I wanted to express my gratitude for passing the Workers' Rights Act. It's one of my most comprehensive and successful political efforts. You and I see eye to eye on many subjects, including this one. Music to my ears. It wouldn't be possible without Pascal Benowell's support. ISSU. The Labour Union and several NGOs like Magnus Cartus also contributed to the campaigning. I have to say, the close collaboration between the palace and the party is going very well. Looking forward to what we can accomplish with the reforms. Anyway, sir, let's talk about the proposal. Thanks for coming here for my input, because there are some subjects where Gloria and I don't see eye to eye. I have to say that most of the progressives were already starting to warm up to you. Your attempt to change the constitution created quite a bit of excitement. One could dare to say an excitement that hasn't been felt since the 30s. Yet, there are some issues with the current status of the draft proposal, so we may need to contain our excitement a little longer. I suspect that Mrs. Tory has a lot of influence on this proposal, but I cannot support it in its current state. I need your support, Mr. Clavin, it's just the truth. A fact I'm aware of, but at this point even my support wouldn't be enough. What do you mean? This proposal would have a hard time getting support in its current status, you surely know that. Reformers were expecting reform about the term limits, why is that not included in the proposal? Ooh, term limits. We can address that. We can address term limits. Let's see then, what were you thinking about? We'll bring out term limits of 2. We'll give that a go. A pleasant surprise, let's move on. It's looking good. I will support the proposal and get the needed signatures from our wing. I believe the reformist votes that I have will be very important to you. Who knows, maybe you'll consider me for a job in the government in the future for this. I will consider you if you prove yourself useful in the vote. Oh, you know I will, Mr. President. I'll talk to my guys shortly. I'll have their signatures soon. Thank you, Mr. Clavin. That felt like a much easier negotiation. I feel like we might have been able to... keep our term limits as the way they are. To be honest, I'm more annoyed about the... I'm more frustrated about the Member of Honour. But hey ho. See you in the conference, Mr. President. I left his room and went back down into the corridor. The meeting had exhausted me. I went to the restaurant of the assembly to get something to eat while conversing with other members of our party. I saw Albin talking to people in the distance. After a while, the preparations for the conference began, and I went back into the conference hall and prepared my notes for the speech I was going to make. It took time to get all the present members of the party inside the hall. Gloria Tory announced me from the stand. I walked up to the stand as everyone in the room started clapping. Ladies and gentlemen of the party, I came here today to announce the agenda for the future of our country. I started my speech with the reasons for the changes to the Constitution. The people of Swordsland have spoken. They blame our institutions and our systems and want change. Can you blame the people? Haven't we had enough with the flaws of our Constitution? We must listen to their wishes and get their trust in Swordsland back. I paused and started clapping and continued. Talk about democracy. I brought attention to democracy and why we must write a more democratic constitution. I explained how our proposals will fix the issues. The left side of the hall where Albin sat started applauding. Later, I explained the contents of the new constitution and asked their full support for the proposal. I'm not going to order them or threaten them, I'm going to ask them for their votes. I asked for each and every member's vote to make a change together. The foremost wing on the left stood up and started clapping loudly after Albin Clavin made a sign. Soon after, most of the party members stood up and joined in. I saluted everyone in the room one last time and bid them farewell before leaving the stand. I walked outside to the assembly and back into the palace. That seemed to go fairly well. But what are we going to encounter now? Balance of power in Eastern Mekopa. That doesn't sound very good at all. Oh, goodness. Okay. So, read the report. The Ministry of Health has begun working in a health report with a proposal to allow privatisation in the health system to potentially generate new resources to the Ministry. Mr. Benowell is personally overseeing the discussion and reports with top aides, including members from the National Business Council. That might be a problem. We just promised Mrs. Tory we weren't going to privatise anything. So we're going to have to fix that. And, right, Religious Harmony Bill. In an endeavour to promote religious harmony and unity, the GNA introduces the Religious Harmony Bill, establishing regulations for religious affairs across Swordland. Section 1 mandates that all sermons conducted during the Day of Dissension ceremony at the Arch-Sanctuary of Dara will henceforth be held in the Swordish language. This move is aimed at promoting inclusivity and common understanding amongst worshippers. Section 2 regulates the language of sermons in other sanctuaries across Swordland and prohibits the use of Bluedish for sermons unless explicit approval has been obtained from the Archpriest of Swordland. This measure ensures consistency and unity in religious practices across the country. And Section 3 sets forth new regulations for priests seating state-sanctioned positions. It requires that all applicants must have Swordish lineage to be eligible for their salaries and pensions. This criteria ensures a deeper connection with Swordland's cultural heritage amongst the religious leaders of the country. Veto, because that all sounds very much like you're trying to create a powerful state religion and use that to control things, so no, that is not going to be done. Oh, superpowers offer aid, this could be a problem. Right, the governments of United Contana and Arcasia have proposed a significant financial aid package for Swordland. This assistance is conditional on certain concessions pertaining to Swordland's strategic military installations. Specifically, United Contana is seeking docking privileges at the Comriat Naval Base, as well as transit rights through Swordish territorial waters for its naval vessels. On the other hand, Arcasia is requesting landing rights at the Elori Air Force Base. Beyond that, they're asking for permission to conduct occasional Air Force rotations within Swordish airspace. This quid pro quo occasion, while offering substantial financial benefits, would increase the military presence both United Contana and Arcasia within Swordland, making a significant shift in the region's geopolitical landscape. 2 government budget does not feel like that much. Would still be -6. I'm going to decline. I'm not sure that's the right decision, but it's the decision I've made, however. And we've got a call from Gus Manger. I suspect this is not going to be a positive one, but we'll have to see how things go. I was sipping my first cup of coffee for the day when the phone lit up and rang. I swore under my breath. I thought my schedule was clear for at least half an hour. I picked up the phone. Mr. President, how are you doing on this fine day, if I may ask? Fine as well. You? I'm good because business in Swordland is running as usual from my end. Thanks for asking. I am calling you because I received a call from the CEO of Armadine Industries, Aaron Bridges, about the recent initial public offering on the Ventry City Stock Exchange. As you might have guessed, it's about our little venture, investment of 1,000 shares worth nearly 1 million Ren. I'm very pleased to see that we've made gains. Shares have doubled in prices at the IPO in the VCSE, and we will soon receive the profits made from the investment. Isn't that great? Great news. So how much do we gain? You will love it. In total we've made nearly 2 million Swordish Ren. I bet that right now you're wishing you bought more stocks earlier, right? It was a good start for sure. It definitely was. I assure you this will pale in comparison to what we will do together in the future. The money will be transferred to your personal bank account shortly. Keep me up to date on other opportunities, but I'm not saying I'm going to do them, because I feel like sometimes it's going to go wrong. Oh, I almost forgot. The management sent you one of their brand new radios as a gift. Miss Suna will bring it up to you later. Goodbye for now. We get 2 personal wealth. Wonderful. Very useful indeed. Oh my goodness, we're tough going after all the big topics today. Immigration and military access and everything. Goodness me. Okay, briefly on the status of immigration regulation. So we basically doubled our profit there with our personal wealth. We were in the middle of a meeting in the palace about our immigration policy. The ensuing discussion quickly became heated. I don't think so, Mr. Whiskey. It doesn't make any sense to me that a forest citizen should come before a Swordish citizen in Swordland. Well said. My analysis is also in line with this, especially during the economic recession. We are giving Swordish jobs to migrants from other countries. What about our own people? Immigrants are the reason our economy is not completely unsalvageable. Look at Agnolian immigrants in Agnaland. They have revitalised the whole region and in turn boosted the economy of the entire country. Simon can attest to that. Statistically speaking, allowing immigrants to become part of the workforce contributes to our economy, but I agree that the current situation is very nuanced. With that said, we can't just tighten our immigration policy and expect the economy to stay the same. We need to put our economy and the recession at the forefront. Gentlemen, can we please get back on topic? Right, sorry Mr. Whiskey. As I was saying before I was interrupted, look at the superpowers. Do you see them closing off their borders? Why do you think their economies are in such good shape? They're in the current state because they welcome immigration and use it to their advantage. We need to modernise and reach the level of superpowers, which is true. I am of the same mind. It is proven that immigration helps countries to develop, and we cannot just deport our current immigrants. We need a decision before we move on. Mr. President, do you have any questions about the current state of immigration? What is the current legal status of immigrants? Currently, all accepted immigrants are given a work permit on arrival so they can work and contribute on the economy of Swordland. There is currently no limit on the number of immigrants accepted, however the number has remained stable over the past years. Despite the laws, the fact is many immigrants illegally work for corporations. That is the main issue with immigration right now, not the immigration itself. Nonsense. If not for this unlimited amount of immigration, we wouldn't be in this state. How many immigrants live here in Swordland? Official numbers show that we have anywhere between 2 to 3 million immigrants. Even excluding the countless undocumented aliens in our midst, this is a very substantial amount. The primary issue is that this strife they cause between less fortunate Swordish citizens and themselves. Including them in the workforce would benefit everyone, including unemployed swords. More taxes means more services. And how do immigrants usually arrive here? There are 3 major paths they choose. The first is the Agnaland to Agnolia border, the second is the Berger to Wayland border, and the third is the Lorraine coast. Agnolians are the largest group. It's a light border over there, although recently political fugitives from Vagsaland have been crossing the Grey Sea by boat to land on our coast. Politically persecuted Vezek refugees tend to use the dangerous mountain passes of the Wayland border. Most of them also have bluish blood. This is significantly increasing the blood populace inside Bergia. Let's move on and see what can be done about the immigration situation. Before we make any decisions, I have to remind you, during the elections, we promised to keep our immigration law relaxed, which I think is the right course of action. I disagree. We are supposed to control and reduce the negative effects of immigration, like crime and subversion. I see your point, Joseph, but the economy certainly benefits from more immigration. Internal order, on the other hand, suffers immensely. We should tighten the laws to prevent further chaos. This is going nowhere. Okay, if we decide to tighten immigration, what happens? We would have to impose quotas and connect it to that stricter border control, on top of allowing our economy to take a hit. Mr. Hole, surely the well-being of our citizens and internal security will more than compensate for any downturn in the markets. Agreed. Swordish citizens should take priority. And what are the consequences of keeping our immigration policy relaxed? Aside from keeping us on the path of prosperity and becoming modern and continuous improvement, not much. Our current system is good for our area, we also have the capacity. This allows us to continue protecting investments from foreign countries, which in turn will keep our trade steady. We'll be more trustworthy partners. Stability draws money. Stability? But what stability? We're already seeing clashes between our people and foreign interlopers. On the contrary, the only way we can keep and achieve stability is through tightening our immigration policy. You heard the lady. Swordland first. Joseph, that's a really unhelpful thing to say. Also, I gave you a bunch of military assistance. You should be happy. I don't think it... Problem is, Lydius already doesn't like us because we had to reduce her budget. Joseph should like us because we increased his budget. we're keeping it relaxed. We're being democracy. We are a democracy. We're going to at least attempt to be a democracy. We'll be forced to handle new waves of migrants in the Agnolia. Our border posts aren't ready. Not only that, we just abandoned the native swords who need our support the most. Also, this will bring a new tide of refugees from Wayland. Berger is already a difficult region to manage. This is shameful. The citizens of Swordland aren't forgotten. Our work for them continues. And now they'll compete with foreign immigrants just to put food on their tables. I'm disappointed in you, Rain. Well, stop being so single-minded. Anything else, Mr. President? Thank you for your contributions. Let's wrap this up. The ministers gather their documents and rose in their chairs, some with frowns on their faces. I'm looking forward to the upcoming trade talks. Peter and I have been visiting Stahlport and Raklovitz in preparation. I'll be coming along to talk with the economy minister, looking forward to the potential partnership. If we are finished, we need to head off and get the ministry to work on this new policy. Same here. Our border units need to be informed and prepared. Keep up the good work. The ministers dispersed. All the major topics today. Goodness me. Okay, what now? So I'm in Erloy, private party of the Gentlemen's Club. Oh, that sounds rather snazzy. Villa of Peter, would you believe? Far from being accustomed to my workload as president, I only felt more and more snowed in as the weeks passed. It had been ages since I had any time to myself. I was starting to lose my focus and my temper was growing increasingly thin. Peter was the first to realise I needed a break. After much cajoling, he finally persuaded me to come to a meeting of his new venture, the Gentlemen's Club. For the past few months, he'd been hosting a salon of sorts, not just for politicians and businessmen, but also for artists, entertainers, people of taste, he told me with a smile on his face. There was only a rule: no wives or girlfriends allowed, hence the name. And so I found myself in front of his luxury new villa. Very loud jazz music emanated from inside. I waited and waited. Finally Peter opened the door, and I could smell the whiskey on his breath. Anton, finally, now the real party can start. Come on in. As soon as I entered, Peter closed the door and turned to the small crowd. Gentlemen, a minute of your time, please. I have the privilege to present to you the man himself, the 4th President of Swordland, Mr. Anton Rain. I knew him a little enough to understand that he was more than a little drunk. He made an elaborate mock curtsy as I passed him and walked into the room. The music stopped and I felt everyone's eyes on me. Let's do some joking. And I present to you Peter Vecton, the first alcoholic Vice President of Swordland. Oh. My joke didn't work. My joke didn't sit well with Peter nor the crowd. There was a short awkward silence before he continued. Dear members, please give a warm welcome to our special guest. If I may, Anton, here, take this. He handed me a glass of whiskey and put his hand on my shoulder. We all know why we've gathered here tonight: to celebrate life, to have a brief escape from our tumultuous professions. I personally don't know any better cure for stress than a little drink. You drink a lot, Peter. Raise your glass. I raised my glass and the rest of the crowd followed. Now, the tradition dictates that the club president, I have to remind you of our house rules. There are 3. No politics, no wives, no one sober. Cheers. Peter drank the whiskey in his glass in one go. Well, drank one glass and then slow down after that, hopefully. I replenished suit and drew my glass. It was immediately replenished. Anton Rain might have the power to make presidential decrees, but I, Peter Vecton, the president of this club, now declare this party started. Music. Go. It's like Pokemon. The band started up again. After greeting the crowd around me, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Let me show you around. We walked through the corridors of his mansion. Statues and paintings lined the stark white walls. An arched window provided a view of the neatly manicured grounds, complete with a swimming pool. A grand Nespian marble staircase led up to the 2nd story. Peter gestured at the massive crystal chandelier hanging overhead. That chandelier was made in the 18th century. Can you believe it? There's even a hedge maze in the garden. What's the story behind the chandelier? Let's not ask him how he's paid for it all. I don't know and I don't care. It just looks expensive and I like it. I'll let you in on a secret. Gus Manger has a lot of contracts in real estate. He broke it at an amazing price for me. He's also here tonight, by the way. What did you promise him in return? Only my money. We continued walking until we circled back to where we had started. So what do you think of my little hideaway? Not bad at all. Thanks, you know that Monica and the kids are always welcome here. Anyway, let's get back to the party. I've arranged for some caviar to be brought in for Lesbia. You're going to love it. He opened the door to the main hall and we rejoined the guests. The music was louder now, and the mood decidedly more inebriated. Cocktail waitresses were carrying around plates of canapes wearing dresses that left little to the imagination. Just for one of the waitresses to come over. She was in mid-20s, wearing red lipstick, her blonde hair neatly tied into a ponytail. On a plate were toast points slathered in the lesbian caviar Peter had mentioned. I took a bite. It was rich, salty, tasting of pure seaside. Could almost hear the sound of the waves and seagulls. Lesbian caviar, best in the world. I'm telling you, Anton, there are few pleasures in life that are this. As the waitress left over to serve another attendee, she flashed a quick smile at Peter over her shoulder. He smiled back a little too broadly. Sensual. There are a few pleasures left in this life that is this sensual. His eyes were still fixed on her with an expression I remembered from our nights out together as students. Oh look, there's Gus. Why don't you talk to him? I'll be back in a minute. Oh boy. Peter, I'm warning you, don't make a mistake. Don't go after the waitress, please. Mistake? What are you talking about? I'm just going to the washroom. See you shortly. Sure, Peter. I'm not sure I entirely believe you. Gus Manger was standing next to a couple of men that I recognised as banking industry magnates. As I approached, all of them turned to me and bowed their heads. Mr. President, a toast to our new member, everyone. Gus and I clinked our glasses as the people around us raised theirs. How long have you been a member? Since the beginning. It's a fun gathering and quite lucrative at times. You might have heard from Peter that I arranged the deal for this mansion. He also told me that you might be interested in potential opportunities such as this. He opened his arms, gesturing our opulent surroundings. Let's take a walk. The balcony has an amazing view of Erlory. We left the room and made our way to the balcony. On the way, he took out 2 cigars and held out one for me. We'll take a cigar, that's fine. Mixed with the whiskey, it was delicious. We went out to the balcony. All of Erlory was at our feet. From the vantage point, I was able to see how expansive the building plot was. The swimming pool and hedge maze was visible from here. Leaning over the rail, I admired the view from right before Gus spoke up. I know you're wondering about the deal Peter made. In a nutshell, thanks to my network, he was able to procure this house for half the asking price, which would be impossible under any other circumstances. I'd be delighted to discuss a similar arrangement with you. In fact, I prepared a document with my own personal favourite opportunities. Your willingness to invest in Gasm showed you a man after my own heart. I'd love to talk about how my network can benefit you personally. What's in it for you? Nothing, Mr. President, just a simple thank you for supporting me. He downed his whiskey. Let's talk about the details then. Gus opened his briefcase and pulled out a thin dossier. He showed it to me. My first offer is, of course, real estate. There's a vineyard close to Erlory, about a 1-hour drive from here that also includes a very large villa. A beautiful plot, but rather neglected, so there'll be a fair amount of renovation costs. On the other side, you'll be able to produce your own wine. The previous owner was Geralt of Ribery, a world-renowned Vinter. That sounds like Geralt of Rivia, but no. There's also an option of the football partnership. I already own a large portion of FC and Rican. I'll do my best to make them champions. Buy-in would be more expensive than Vineyard, but this season would bring a lot of returns and quite positive. Give me the word and I'll start the procurement process, but we must act quickly as these options may disappear off the market. Do I want to invest at the moment? Because even if I invest in the... I think I'm not going to invest because then I'm going to be seen as a president who's kind of engaging in these very outlandish and rich people ways of doing things. I don't think we want to do that. Very well, do not blame me if they're not available at a later date. If you excuse me, I'm going to refresh my drink. See you around. He left to rejoin the party, and on the balcony I looked out over Erlory. Suddenly I heard a rustling from the hedge maze below. If this is Peter, I'm going to be furious. I looked down and saw a silhouette. 2 silhouettes, actually, so close together they seemed to be entangled. I squinted and tried to get a better look. It's definitely 2 people kissing, but I couldn't see either of their faces. I returned to the party and spent some time mingling with the other guests and engaging them in small talk about their businesses, their children, and their relationships. I realised it had been a while since Peter left. I looked around, but couldn't find him. Instead, my eyes landed on Alfonso. With a smile, the former president walked over to meet me. Isn't this party a little low-class for a man like you? Surroundings are a little tacky, I admit, but Gus convinced me that the networking opportunities would be unparalleled. I saw you speaking to Mr. Manger earlier. We talked, yes. It's always nice to get to know one's ministers outside of the Maroon Palace. We had a good chat together back in Narble, as I recall, resulting in a very wise decision to invest Swedish money in Gasm. We're seeing a growing interest from international investors, by the way. I'm optimistic about the results of Swordland's investments. I'm glad that Sordon can help your company thrive. And vice versa. Just then, Peter came up from behind us and threw an arm around each of our shoulders. Look at you two, Sordon's bright future in this ancient past. Another brilliant zinger, Peter. That's what I'm here for. Well, Mr. Alfonso, have you been enjoying my hospitality? And Alfonso smiles politely. Indeed I have, Mr. Vecton. You put together one hell of a gathering. If you excuse me, I'm going to have a quick word with the CEO of Swordish Petroleum. Have fun mingling, it was good to see you. Alfonso gave a brusque wave and walked off. Peter shifted his weight unsteadily. Nice guy. A shitty president, but a nice guy. Where were you, Peter? Peter assumed a patient look. Well, Mr. President, when too much Swedish whiskey meets too much lesbian caviar, can lead to a gastronomical imbroglio like the likes of the world has never seen before. Were you with the waitress? What? No, how could you even think that? I'm a married man. Okay, if you say so, I will stand by my vice president for the time being. But you need to get a grip of yourself, Peter. He poured us 2 large glasses of whiskey, and we drank them in one go. Throughout the party, we drank and drank, just like old times. I woke up the next day with a pounding headache and more than a few regrets. My recollections of the evening were hazy, but there was one important detail that came back to me: the red lipstick on Peter's collar. And maybe my memory was just playing tricks on me. I'm not sure it was. I think probably him and the waitress had a little bit of fun. Right, that was a very tough episode. It looks like our economic growth has somewhat gone down now. Still stable, but it seems to be going up and down as time goes on. But we'll leave things there. We had to make a lot of important decisions today, and I'm not sure they're all going to pay off. But we'll have to see. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.